Breaking overnight, relentless rain triggering new flood warnings across western Washington. All that green means even more wet weather is on the way.
Don't even take a chance. Don't even take a chance. It's a life and death situation a lot of times.
Some Issaquah streets looking like rivers right now as people living in parts of East King County are warned to get ready to leave at a moment's notice. Live team coverage just moments away.
Plus, the deadly coronavirus outbreak turning a busy city into a ghost town.
They're trying their best to make sure people aren't spreading this. It does make one feel a bit trapped.
The first look inside the city of Wuhan in China and the backlash surrounding a local quarantine center.
And new at 6 o'clock, how predators are targeting your kids online without you even noticing. The warning all parents need to hear. 6 o'clock on your Thursday, breaking right now. We are taking you live over the roaring Snoqualmie Falls. It is always a telltale sign of the dangerous amount of rain. Right now, parts of western Washington are under a level 4 flood warning, forcing some roads to shut down as those rising waters rush through neighborhoods. Heavy rain overnight, not expected to let up until this weekend, which means conditions are only going to get worse.
We have live team coverage to help you get through this weather-worn day. Theron Zahn and Denise Whitaker are live at some of the hardest hit areas right now.
Kristen, Paris, and Holly monitoring the changes in the forecast on the roads. And of course, those new school alerts, though. We want to start first with meteorologist Kristen Clark. The big question is, when is the rain going to let up?
Kelly, not until Sunday. Between now and then, we'll have these periods of rain, some steady, some heavy at times, like what we are seeing currently in downtown Seattle. A good batch of a steady rain impacting Seattle into Bellevue, where the precipitation rate is now over 1/4 inch an hour. This is creating ponding on the roads, and I'm sure Paris, a very slow morning commute.
And already starting to see that delay ramp up. So, for instance, down in the South Sound on State Route 7 near that intersection of Highway 512, we're dealing with a crash here, taking up a lane. And then also some of those landslides, it's affecting portions of unincorporated King County. So a lot of different things that could slow you down this morning. Getting out the door early and also just taking it easy on our freeways is the best bet.
And Paris, before we get to more weather coverage, I am tracking that breaking news out of Pierce County for you this morning, where there has been an officer-involved shooting. Here's the latest information we have from Pierce County. The Pierce County Sheriff tweeting this out about an hour ago, saying Military Road, just east of Pacific Avenue, that's where this happened. One person rolled a car, fled on foot. K-9 tracked and located that person. He is now in custody. Here's what you need to know, though. Military Road shut down. The deputy is okay. The person involved not hit by gunfire. Now, we have calls in. We're requesting more information and any visuals of the scene there. Once we get that information or any pictures, we'll be sure to share those with you.
Happening right now, major flooding on rivers and creeks flowing out of the foothills in King County.
Yeah, people in Issaquah scrambling this morning to save their cars from the rising waters along Issaquah Creek. Como's Theron's on live in the apartment complex with Theron. That water rising fast this morning.
Yeah, just even since the time we've been here. Take a look at these cars here that are now trapped basically in the middle of Issaquah Creek. You can see the cars that were not moved in time. They're surrounded by the fast-moving water. The creek now under a Phase 4 flood alert. So far, no reports of water under homes, but take a look at this video here. We talked to a guy who was moving one of his cars out of the water just a short time ago. He already gave up on his other car out in the water after the creek almost knocked him off his feet.
You can see, it's going to come up to my thighs. I don't know, so.
Too dangerous maybe to try to get down there.
Yeah, because I was in the stream a little bit earlier, and it's just super strong. It's been pulling me around, and I'm a big guy, so it's a little bit scary.
Yeah, I would advise you stay out of there.
Yes, very much so.
Well, at 1:30 this morning, a gauge on the creek in Hobart went above the 9-foot mark. And emergency folks at the Emergency Management Center say that means we can expect some serious flooding around here. Any roads that go across Issaquah Creek can be probably closed today. In fact, Newport Way nearby here is closed. That's a very important commute route. So be aware, if you take Newport Way through Issaquah, it is closed and will likely be closed for a while. In fact, Issaquah schools also on a 2-hour delay this morning because of the flooding. So the flooding having a serious impact, not just on folks who live near the creek, but thousands of commuters and lots of folks who are going to be late to school today. But take a look here. Notice how fast that water is moving beyond those vehicles there, the vehicles that have now basically been given up on because it's too dangerous to try to get out there and move them out, or if they would even start at all. But yeah, folks here at this apartment complex, and Jordan, I'm going to have you pan over a little bit here. Notice there's still a couple cars here that are just ready for more water to come up. And again, the Micah, the guy we just talked to, he came out and moved his car. But these folks right here, maybe I hope they're not still asleep and hope they're watching this morning so they know to come out here and start moving things. But it's a big impact here in Issaquah this morning.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough morning for a lot of people out there. Well, Cedar River, which is also winds its way along the State Route 169, that is also rising this morning.
KOMO's Denise Whitaker is live near the Cedar River to show us what it is doing. Denise?
Yeah, the Cedar River has now gone to flood phase 4, and that is from 3 just a couple of hours ago. Take a look. I'm right along State Route 169, southbound going this way. The Cedar River has already filled these ditches. Right where I'm standing, it has come all the way up to the roadway. And then as we look a little bit further down, we can see a road crew up ahead. He has set flares out so that drivers are aware that there is water across the roadway. I first came here 90 minutes ago, right around 4:30 or so, and that's when this road crew had just shown up. At that time, the water was only to the right side of your screen across the southbound lanes where these brake lights are now headed. But now the water is all the way across to the northbound side as well. You can see how slow traffic is coming up the other side. It must be garbage day yesterday or today, because we definitely spotted some floating garbage cans where the water obviously rose up overnight, perhaps caught people off guard who had their garbage cans still out, rising all the way up to the bottoms of mailboxes I could see in this area again. And again, this is right at Cedar Grove Road Southeast and State Route 167. And again, I can tell you, in the last 90 minutes, the water has really come up across the roadway, so that before it was only blocking or over one lane. Now it's over both lanes of 169 here in the Maple Valley, sort of Ravensdale, Landsberg area. So be careful as you hit the road this morning. Make sure you allow time. I'm seeing a lot of drivers speeding up here, and all of a sudden, whoa, there's water on the roadway. So just take it easy this morning.
Yeah, that rain is just changing conditions throughout the hours here, Denise. Want to give you a look at some new video that we're watching this morning. Raging floodwaters, not the only danger triggered by all of this heavy rain. Overnight, crews rushed to clear a landslide near Ames Lake in King County. No roads were blocked there, and DOT was able to clean it up, but it highlights our elevated slide risk. And Holly, we're just getting some new video in too out of King County.
Yeah, Kelly, take a look at this. This coming out of the King County Road Services, just tweeting this out. They say happening now at Issaquah, Hobart, May Valley Road. This is something Paris has been telling you about this morning as well. Detours are being confirmed and will be signed soon. But look at what is going across the roadway right here. This is just likely more of what we are expected to see. We are also tracking those school closures and delays for you this morning. Theron mentioning that Issaquah School District 2 hours late. That's the only delay we have reported right now. There's no out-of-district transportation. This is all due to flooding. We do have that situation in Tacoma Community College, not in session this week, but that is due to something else. We were told earlier in the week it was a power outage. But again, this video, likely more of what we'll see from all this rain.
Yeah, that's right, Holly. Just the power of water is incredible. It only takes 6 inches of fast flowing water to quickly knock you off your feet. That's it. And we currently have flooding ongoing in many of our rivers, creeks, and streams this morning. The rain will continue. A lot of people are asking, when will the rain end? It won't end until Sunday. That's our next dry day. Between now and then, periods of rain, some heavy at times, with the floodwaters cresting early tomorrow before gradually receding on Saturday. But we are in the thick of a steady, heavy rain from Tacoma north into Everett, including the Seattle metro. The exceptions being parts of Whatcom, Skagit County, the South Sound, relatively dry, but most areas and most backyards will get more rain today.
And Kristen, take a look at this. If you're just joining us, we're taking you back to Snoqualmie Falls. You can just see how powerful the falls are right now. All that rain leading to even more flooding in already waterlogged areas. We're going to have more live coverage on the flooding warning in effect throughout the Northwest all morning long right here on Como News.
It is 6:08 right now. New video airing on Good Morning America showing Wuhan, China, ground zero for the coronavirus outbreak. That city, a transportation hub in central China. Take a look. It looks like a ghost town. Those streets here, look at this bridge, the airport, all empty. That city on lockdown at this hour. This morning, there are now 12 confirmed cases of the coronavirus in the U.S. The latest is a person in Wisconsin who recently traveled to Wuhan, China, which is the epicenter of the outbreak. In China, the death toll climbed to 563, with the number of confirmed cases just under 29,000. Outside of mainland China, confirmed cases also went up, standing now at 240 with 2 deaths.
And Kelly, this fire training center near North Bend, now one of several designated spots for a coronavirus quarantine center. That scene in the secure facility sits on top of the hill southeast of North Bend. North Bend mayor says it's a designated site and there are no reports of any quarantine patients there yet. In downtown North Bend, some people expressed concern about having such a place nearby. Others said they're not worried about it at all. Health officials say the threat of a coronavirus spreading in the U.S. remains very low.
In difficult time for a lot of commuters this morning. A lot of people having to use some alternate routes or just start their morning drive a little bit earlier because of a slew of different issues. One being in downtown Seattle, northbound I-5 near Olive Way. You can see that center lane being taken up, at least 2 lanes of traffic due to this latest crash in downtown. With all of the rain coming down right now, you're already starting to see some of that jam up with that issue in downtown Seattle. So you're tapping the brakes as you're approaching the Michigan curve. Luckily, West Seattle not feeling the impacts heading eastbound on the bridge, but we do have some heavy ponding on I-5 in both directions near Denny Way. That's something to note this morning for downtown Seattle commuters. And as we extend the scope of the maps, you can see all of those areas that are starting to fill in, like those S-curves going northbound on 405, and then portions of East King County dealing with a slew of different issues, one being that culvert issue. We showed you some of that live video from Holly. So Issaquah Hobart Road and May Valley Road closed until this evening. You want to use that detour. It's going to take you out of the way and probably add a lot more time to your commute time. When we talk about a mudslide affecting Ames Lake Road, that is closed currently between SR 202 and 264th. So adding time this morning to your commute and slowing down is going to be your best bet.
Time is now 6:10. Neighbors and local businesses voicing their outrage over a crime spree they say is getting ignored.
If you're upset with those laws, then that is out of our hands.
Why the city's prosecutor's office say their hands are often tied when it comes to dealing with shoplifters.
And breaking now, we're taking you live over Issaquah, where the Issaquah Creek and the banks continue to overflow. You can see those cars now underwater, so a lot of people living in that apartment complex are going to wake up with their cars flooded this morning. There are a few cars that could be saved if people do wake up this morning. Como's Theronzon is live at the scene. We'll have much more when we come back.
Watching Como News.
Busy morning commute out on the roads. We're dealing with just a lot of rain this morning, so we're seeing increasing delays. For instance, we're tracking 405 if you're trying to head out of Renton and your destination is Bellevue this morning. 52 minutes it's going to take you. Then we're also hearing reports of a new issue that's affecting State Route 900. So if you did have travel plans in both directions, east and westbound, from Tullis Drive, all lanes are blocked, extending all the way to southeast May Valley Road. And no word when that stretch will reopen. So do give yourself a lot of extra time. This is over in the Issaquah area.
A constant steady rain is falling right smack dab in the middle of the Seattle metro, where you see those darker shades of green and red. Expect a waterlogged commute here, but Olympia, some lighter showers and also the northwest interior, but most areas, most backyards will be getting in on the rain today.
All right, let's give you a live look from Issaquah right now. Overnight, the Issaquah Creek elevated to a phase 4 flood stage, meaning several roads in that area are shut down right now as crews brace for even more flooding. We've been watching this parking lot all morning long as the water just seems to continually creep up. The rising water already getting dangerously close to homes nearby. Theronzon has been getting more information right now. We're going to check back in with him in about 15 minutes from now at 6:45. Also developing now in just a few hours, President Trump is expected to speak about what he calls his victory following that acquittal in the Senate impeachment trial.
His official speech set for 9 a.m. our time, although he is speaking right now at a prayer breakfast. Sinclair National correspondent Christy Christine Verzal is live in our Capitol Hill bureau with a look ahead.
Well, good morning, Ryan and Kelly. And today begins what many of us here in Washington are calling the post-impeachment era. It has been a long 4.5 months since Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi first announced an impeachment inquiry. Well, after yesterday's historic vote in the Senate impeachment trial, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says it's time to move on. Now, it is really hard to say if that will be able to happen. Some Democrats have already announced that they plan to continue with investigations, with potential subpoenas of former National Security Advisor John Bolton, and also more documents that they weren't able to have access to during the impeachment effort, which ended before Christmas. And it's not just Democrats. Two Republican senators, Iowa's Chuck Grassley and Wisconsin's Ron Johnson, sent a letter yesterday to Secret Service requesting dates and locations of travel for Hunter Biden during the time that he had a protective detail. So in other words, while his father was vice president. Now, as far as President Trump's remarks today, he's making them now, as you mentioned, at the National Prayer Breakfast. We expect him to call what happened yesterday a complete exoneration. He's already sort of at the speech right now making it a little bit partisan and talking about Mitt Romney, talking about Democrats. Now, there is some historical significance that is important to note, with every single Democrat voting him guilty, and even one Republican, Senator Mitt Romney, finding him guilty on one of the articles as well. Republican lawmakers have signaled little interest in punishing Romney for that vote, but if President Trump's track record is any indication, we expect Romney to become a target of his. Already this morning at the prayer breakfast, he was a little bit of a target. Now, the president, of course, will remain an impeached president as far as the history of this country. But, you know, in a lot of ways, nothing has changed. Congress remains extremely divided. And we are, of course, in the midst of a presidential election. I have to tell you guys, one of the president's former top advisors told me just the other day that if you thought 2016 was bad in terms of some of the fights and some of the tactics used, he said, you ain't seen nothing yet. Just get ready for what's going to happen in the weeks and months to come. Live on Capitol Hill, Christine Verzal. Ryan and Kelly, back to you.
Christine, thanks so much. I'll take it from here at the live desk now, because we do have President Trump speaking at that National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, D.C., like Christine was mentioning. He's speaking at the nonpartisan event right now, so let's take a live listen in.
In the debt of our nation's African-American churches all throughout this country. That's why it's so fitting and so, it's one of the reasons we chose this particular church in Louisiana. For generations, they've bravely fought for justice and lifted up the conscience of our nation, and we're grateful beyond any measure. But I can say that going beyond that, we're grateful to the people in this room for the love they show to religion. Not one religion, but many religions. They're brave, they're brilliant, they're fighters.
All right, President Trump speaking now. He did take the opportunity to talk about his impeachment trial at the beginning of his speech this morning, with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi seated on the other end of the table. He said in part, as everybody knows, my family, our great country, and your president have been put through a terrible ordeal by some very dishonest and corrupt people. His remarks come less than 24 after he was acquitted by the Senate on impeachment charges.
Yeah, you can only imagine the tension in the room. Well, breaking right now throughout our region, more rain and flooding.
Yeah, a number of local rivers are under flood alerts, and Como-Cease Whitaker is live near the Cedar River with much more. Good morning, Denise.
Good morning. This is really quite messy here. I'm on 169 southbound. The brake lights going that way. Headlights are northbound going this way. And take a look. Some of these drivers are, thank goodness, really slowing down. You can see where the water is now across the entire roadway. A couple of hours ago, when we first got here around 4:30 this morning, it was only on the right side of your screen across the southbound lanes, but now the water is completely across the roadway here. Cedar Grove Road Southeast is the stoplight just ahead that you see up ahead beyond the traffic. You can definitely see a DOT crew there. He has been here all morning, ever since we got here. We watched him pull up this morning between 4 and 4:30 and put the signs and the flares out. And a few of those flares have now been snuffed out by the water rising from the Cedar River. The Cedar River is off to the right side of this roadway as you're looking at your screen, and it is definitely quite, look at, we can see, I'm watching that car up ahead to the right of the road crew go down a driveway. I hope they can make it okay. And these are driveways all along the roadway here where people might have some problems getting in and out of their homes here along 169. Go up to the right, Jim, and show everyone exactly how deep the ditch is here. This ditch is totally full of water, and this is where you can see, where we're standing anyway, how the water kind of filled the ditch, and then where you can see ahead where it's across the roadway, this is what's happening. And these trees, look how much of the tree is buried in water. These are the issues now that people are going to be dealing with as this rain continues to fall on us. On those hillsides, those tree roots and everything completely saturated, rocks, mud giving way. So definitely, depending on where you live, make sure your house is secure, you have emergency supplies, and you're ready for anything to happen, because this rain is still coming down out here.
All right, Denise, thanks so much at the live desk. Now, just a heads up for travelers heading on US 2 Stevens Pass. There will be avalanche control work again today. So starting this morning at 8, they will close the road between milepost 58 and 64 to get that done. Here's a look at their tweet, and here's a live look at Stevens Summit to bring you right now. Now, this work can take between 30 minutes to 2 hours, so plan ahead.
Now let's check in with Kristen Clark with a look at our weather quickcast. And so we're talking about rising floodwaters. We're talking about saturated hillsides and no relief in sight.
I know this is not what we need. A lot of green showing up on the radar. We have more rain today. And this is on top of, mind you, that record-setting rain in January. And now a lot of our rivers, streams, and creeks are flooding beyond their banks, especially the Tolt and Snoqualmie River there. Major flood stage near Carnation. Also minor to moderate flooding along many creeks, streams, and rivers today. We've had 1 to 3 inches of rain already the past 24 hours. Add more on top of that, not to mention snow melt. I mean, the snow levels are way up there, 5,000 to 6,000 feet in elevation. So all that runoff goes into the low-lying areas. And at the current moment, the heaviest rain, it's a pretty good steady band, anywhere from Port Angeles through the Seattle metro, all the way into the foothills of the Central Cascades. So when does the rain let up? It lets up by the end of the weekend. We have showers still in the forecast today through Friday, some heavy at times, but we do start to see a drying trend, luckily, into early next week.
All right, new video just in overnight showing how dangerous this rain can quickly become. Early this morning, crews rushed to clear a landslide near Ames Lake in King County. No roads were blocked, and DOT was able to clean it up quickly, but it just highlights our elevated slide risk. Pinpointing exactly where and when those landslides will happen is virtually impossible. That's why researchers at the University of Washington are trying to improve landslide prediction using what is called Linder data. It is information that can be used to better understand terrain and elevation. Local scientists hope that by more accurately forecasting landslides, they can determine the exact impact on homeowners, transportation, and emergency managers.
Well, new at 6, we're getting a new look at some of the disturbing ways experts say child predators interact with children online.
It is thanks to a new undercover experiment that we are seeing for the first time. A 37-year-old mom transformed herself to pose as an underage girl online. For her safety, we're not showing her face. She is with a company, though, that works with schools and parents to track children's online social media use. They created a pair of fake accounts pretending to be a 15 and 11-year-old. She says that she learned even innocent selfies could lead to messages from potential predators.
Lots of parents might say, well, my kid would never post anything remotely salacious. What we've been able to demonstrate with these is that regardless of how innocuous content might be, they're still susceptible to being targeted.
Coming up on Good Morning America, Sloan and that team of experts will walk you through the process minute by minute and show you how potential predators attempt to manipulate children one message at a time.
And out on the roads, it is a tough drive this morning. We got so many different issues affecting that morning commute. Right here at 641, we're giving you a live look at I-5 at Boylston Avenue, both directions of I-5, especially that southbound drive heading closer into downtown Seattle. All of that water is ripping off of these headlights. Luckily, we had some earlier blocking issues in downtown. Those have cleared, but we have a succession of different closures from flooding all the way to mudslides. So one being State Route 900 east and westbound from Tullis Drive to southeast May Valley Road, that's currently blocked. If you are going to be heading out of, say, Snohomish County this morning, southbound I-5 struggles, but it really starts to ramp up that pressure passing the split, leaving Linwood, whether you take 5 or 405 this morning. And if you do have travel plans to head into downtown Seattle, northbound I-5 approaching Boeing Field, as you get closer towards the Michigan curve, that's where you're seeing most of your gridlock. We're also dealing with a pocket of heavy pressure on 405 going northbound at approaching the Maple Valley Highway. A mudslide is affecting State Route 410 east and westbound, just east of Greenwater. Keep that in mind this morning. Over on the east side, if you're trying to make your way on Issaquah Hobart Road, it is completely shut down at May Valley Road until this evening. A long detour is in place, and if you usually take Ames Lake Road, you cannot this morning because it's closed between State Route 202 and 264th Avenue.
Time is now 6:43. A flood emergency unfolding throughout the Northwest.
Fast-moving floodwaters surrounding cars here in Issaquah this morning. I'm Theron Zahn. Coming up, the impacts for folks who don't even live near the creek this morning.